Is it recording? Hi, welcome to my podcast. I am Tabitha Nolan, and this is our Tabcast. And today I am talking to Kelly Humphrey, who's a good friend of mine. We met in about a couple of years ago, and we met by our children being home educated. So that's okay. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Is we're going to finally, after all this, we've had a few technical issues because I had my volume turned down, and we were like, "Why can't you hear me?" Finally, we can actually hear each other. So what we're going to talk about today is about Kelly's journey into. She's got an amazing facility in Barton in Suffolk. And what it's called the Willows, and it's a childcare provision for home educated children. Is that right, Kelly? I got that right?
Yeah, you've got that right.
Okay. And I was kind of around when Kelly had the initial idea for that, and I've seen her grow from being with it just being an idea to now being actually a fully fledged business, and I've seen it go from strength to strength. So that's why I wanted to talk to her, because I think it's amazing. And as I said before, I've got so many amazing friends that I want to do these podcasts. So Kelly, would you like to just introduce yourself and also just tell us a little bit about the Willows as it stands and what it actually is?
Yeah, so I'm Kelly. I have got 3 children, 10, 7 and 2. We've always home educated them. So the Willows has kind of evolved from home educating our own children. So the Willows is an outside, we call it an education centre, but it is a place for children to come and just be free and play. At the forefront of everything that we do is children's play, because we believe that anything can be learned through play, and that is how we learn. That's how human beings learn. That's how, if you look at primates and other animals, they learn through play, and we believe in that too. So we have about 3/4 of an acre of just open pasture, so a big field for the children to play sports and run around. They fly kites, they pitch their tents up there. We have a forest, which we're not a forest school, but we do have a forest school ethos. So there's lots of den building. We have a mud kitchen and tree climbing, and they dug like a big ditch coming from the river. We have like a stream going through so we have a river behind, and then we have a stream coming through the forest. So they literally are just free to play however they wish. We have an 8-meter bell tent, which is our indoor space. And inside there we have lots of open-ended toys. We have art supplies, puzzles, books, Play-Doh, lots of sensory things to play. We've got STEM activities. So yeah, we've just created a place for children to come and feel safe and be free to just play and learn through their play. We believe that there isn't enough play now for children. What with being at school full time and homework and rushing off to all of the other clubs that they do, it's just a place for children to be children. And yeah, that's us. That's what we do.
So going back to the initial idea of it, remember when we sat in the pub and you said, "I've had this idea"?
Yeah.
Remember that? What led you to kind of start thinking about it? What set the seed, and what made you think, actually, this is something I could do? Can you remember that?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a couple of years now. But our youngest he's just about to turn 3. So at the time, the timing wasn't right. we didn't have the space to do it then, and it's just the space became available. So I rent the land off of my dad, and it only became available a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, because it was all underwater, and so the Environment Agency came in and put some drainage in. So that piece where we are now is, it gets a little bit boggy sometimes.
It was unusable before, wasn't it?
It was completely, you couldn't use it at all. So
had you been thinking about it before the land, or which came first, the idea or the land?
The idea came first.
Yeah. And you were just thinking, where can I do this?
Yeah, well, no, it was more of an idea. It was I'm probably never going to be able to do this, So
do you see a gap in the provision that your children were home educated but didn't have this provision that you kind of envisaged, so you filled the gap, sort of thing? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, and so our children go to a forest school as well, but I wanted to incorporate more than just a forest school. I mean, forest schools are absolutely brilliant. I love them, but they don't incorporate sport. So Matt, my husband, is a sports coach, so he is now with us full time. We're only open for 3 days a week. He's there with us every day. If the children want to play some sports, then he will, he's fully present with the children if they want to do sports. So, and forest schools don't really offer the same resources as we do. So like the open-ended toys.
You've got lovely space there, haven't you, for children to run?
Yeah, I feel like it's very unique. I don't know. I mean, there's other places similar to us, but I don't know anyone else who's doing the same thing as we are.
No.
So
what sort of provision did apart from forest school, before the Willows was born, what sort of things did you do with your children in a home education, like outside your house, home educating?
Yeah, so we had a very busy schedule. Every single day there was activities. So we had drama club, we had French, science, multi-sports. What else did we do? There was swimming. They still do swimming, actually. And then there was like scouts, brownies.
So you're always here, there and everywhere.
Everything. Yeah, they've tried everything. And I think once you've been home educating for a while, you kind of learn that they don't need all of this stuff,
Well, you're the opposite end to me, because I've never done that. I've never been one. My ethos for home ed is literally home ed. They stay at home, and I do it. I do everything, and obviously we've got the land, so they go down there, so they learn a lot in nature, sort of thing. But I have, it's one of those things. You see a lot of families who home educate who feel that they have to provide the education outside of the home, and they have to be somewhere in the morning, somewhere in the afternoon, and then the next day repeat it. But there's no time for pause really there either. And I think children need to pause, and they need to be bored as well to be able to develop their imagination. And and because I worked at I came down to the Willows with my girls quite a few times, and what I experienced there was just the flow was really, really welcoming, and there wasn't sort of like a rush around to, oh, come on, let's go and do this. It was very, very, very much child-led. So the children that you had there as well were, I'm going to have a drink of water. I'm so hot. My lips are sticking to my tea.
Yeah, it's been 32 degrees today. It's very hot.
Cat mouth. You didn't really know from one day to the next what the children were going to be doing, but one day they could be making fairy houses and dens and things like that, and but then the children would be like, they would find something like a frog or something like that, and then they'd be like, well, we've now got to make a house for the frog. So it was very organic, the flow. It wasn't wasn't very structured, which obviously as a very unstructured person, that was really, really like fit right into my ethos of life, not just home education, you know.
Yeah.
And I love that. I really did. And the days just went so quick as well, didn't they?
They do go quick, and you're right. Like it makes you just slow down.
Yeah.
And it is totally child led.
Yeah.
We had so we will strew invitations to play. So we might set up a little activity, and if it doesn't spark the imagination of a child, then it doesn't. It's fine.
Yeah.
But we do leave bits and pieces. We left a few tyres lying around just to kind of see what they would do with them. And they said, do we have any more tyres? And we did. My husband also has a car rental company. So he did it. So we happened to have hundreds of spare tyres. And so I said, what would you like? What are you planning on doing with these tyres? And they said, oh, let's make a den. Let's make a den out of these tyres. So they drew some plans. They figured out exactly how they wanted to make this den. And it turned out to be like a really massive dome structure that took us, we all worked together. It was a big project. We all worked together on it. And it took us about a month to complete, but it's awesome. They absolutely love it. And that was totally organic. No one instigated that apart from the children. So
it wasn't planned. Not initially, you know, it was like planned by the children, but you took it on and let them sort of go with it, because that's what their initial idea of a bud of an idea was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's what we're all about. We'll just
Is there anything you'd say no to then?
Pardon?
Is there anything you'd say no to?
Obviously, we need to have safety in mind, but I don't think there's actually been anything we've said no to yet.
No.
They might suggest something, and then so we have a budget for if the children would like something, we'll have a weekly budget. So an example would be a tent. So some of the children asked for a tent, a smaller tent, so we invested in that, and they pitched their own tent up completely on their own, figured it out. So there really isn't much that we say no to.
Just so people know, what's the age range?
5 and up, so primary school age and up. But we do have, we also run like toddler stay and play sessions as well, which are going quite good actually. They're quite popular. But
so during lockdown, how has that affected your business and?
Yeah, so we've had to close during lockdown, but we're going to be opening again on the 1st of September for the home ed group. But we'll also be hopefully running a holiday club, and that's open to all children, not just home educated children. Yeah. So hopefully, COVID permitting.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess in a way, like I've read a lot of people saying that it's given them time to pause, you know, with their businesses, if not just with life. You know, it kind of it gives you that opportunity to take stock and to think, right, where am I with this, or you know, which direction do I need to go in, and am I going in the right direction? And you know, we don't often get a chance to pause our lives, do we?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've kind of, there's now a lot of people who have decided to carry on home educating because they've been forced into it, and maybe they were thinking, oh, you know, I'm not sure if home education is right for me, but now they've been forced into home educating. A lot of people have now realised that, you know, it is doable. You know, you can home educate your children.
Yeah. I bet there's been a lot of people who've been home educating and been like, oh my God, I can't wait to get these kids into a school.
It's tough though, having your children, even when you're a home educating parent, people just assume that you're with your children 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not the case at all.
Bless you, me.
For you, yeah. But you're not, you know, you still go to museums and
this isn't home ed. This isn't home ed, is it?
No.
Being in your house 20. Yeah, sorry, I keep talking over.
No, you're fine. It's just literally surviving, and it's hard for your children being with you 24/7 as well. You need a break from each other, you know. And I believe that it takes a village to raise a child. I don't believe that the parent should have sole responsibility of your child's education when they're home educated. So children learn from everywhere. We're actually going to be having some older people down at the Willows volunteering, doing some gardening with the children.
Wonderful.
I think it's good for both, you know. It's good for children to learn off of the older generations, and
the elders.
They can stories, and I just think that this is how we are supposed to live, you know, as humans, learning off each other and not being confined to one classroom for 6 hours a day, being, you know, spoken at, because a lot of it isn't really hands-on anymore. It's a lot of ticking boxes in school, like in the system, and it just doesn't really teach you life skills, you know. You're just being taught how to pass the test, and that's just not what I believe in. I don't want that for my children.
No.
So
I often wonder about Bonnie and Bambi, how they will fare in their lives as adults. You know, they'll probably know how to milk a goat and to build a shed, but and I mean, obviously they can read and write, and that, well, Bambi can't because she's only 21 months old. But
you've got there.
if she follows in her sister's footsteps, she'll be able to read and write. But you know, the foundations of education, like the number bonds, and as much as I do kind of bring those into her lessons and things. We do some form of sit down education, but a lot of it is sort of nature led and hands on. You know, do they call it incidental learning, where you're doing something and you happen to learn about maths or English along the way, sort of thing.
So like unschooling.
Yeah, definitely unschool. Yeah. But I do worry. No, I don't worry. I think about it. I think you know, what will become of them. But I think as well as doing education, as in, you know, maths and English and science, I and a lot of home educators actually do educate our children as to how to be a human being. So, you know, it's not just about maths and English and the things that are in your classroom. And I guess that if your children do go to school, then, you know, education doesn't stop at school. When their children get home from school, they then take on the lead and teach their children. And, you know, I know some fantastic parents who send their children to school.
Yeah.
But I want at the moment, and I always say, you know, this is right for us now, might not be right for us in the future, but it's right for us now. But I want to take on the job of educating my daughters, and so I can choose what they learn, what they don't learn, what they're exposed to, what they're not exposed to. And, you know, because I've obviously got three older boys, and their experiences of school weren't great. And a lot of negative stuff came from that, you know, and even though they've turned into well-rounded individuals, I still do regret sometimes exposing them to things at school that I wish I hadn't have done, you know, even though I did actually home educate my oldest son for a term, what do they call it when a whole term, a season. I don't know all these schooly terms now. But yeah, he was home educated for a little while, but then wanted to go back because he missed playing football with his mates.
Yeah, which I don't. We were speaking to someone about a local school, and he said, "Oh, we're not allowed to play football at break time."
Oh,
why are you not allowed to play? So, because someone had an accident, so now they play with a pine cone at break time.
Oh, that's so sad.
It really is, isn't it? But like you say, school is great for some children. Some children love it and thrive off of it, and it is totally for them.
Yeah.
But children don't all learn the same way. And
Can you imagine Bonnie at school?
Or Jacob.
She's Bonnie and Jacob actually are very much imagination led, aren't they?
Yeah.
So Bonnie in a classroom of other 7-year-olds would, I imagine, I'm not sure because I haven't been to a school lately, but I can imagine that she would probably be ridiculed because she does use her imagination a lot, and she's, you know, constantly in a world of imagination. So I feel that, you know, that would, I don't think she'd feel comfortable doing that in a classroom of other children the same age as her, but I may be wrong. But anyway, I don't want to take that risk. So
yeah, but I do feel like we have to protect the imagination of children, because if you look at the greatest you know, scientists and a lot of people, Albert Einstein, you know, they all use their imagination, question things, and then they continue to learn through play.
Yeah, Albert Einstein was home educated.
Yes, he was, and I think he was dyslexic, wasn't he? Was he dyslexic?
I don't know. I know he was home educated.
Yeah. So, but just going back to when you said about like Bonnie can read already. She's 7, isn't she?
Yeah.
And my Jacob is 7, and he is just learning how to read. But I'm not worried, because I know that when he needs to be able to read, he will then have that inside. He'll want to learn how to read.
Yeah.
So if he's playing a Minecraft game and he can't read the instructions, then he needs to learn how to read in order to play the game, you know?
Yeah, so totally.
I do believe that we learn what we need to learn when we need to learn it. But that doesn't stop me from worrying and thinking, oh, you're going to be 25 years old and not be able to read, you know, because that is like that schooled side of me, which is still, you know, still coming out. But I think if we just trust our children, that is what it's all about. It's just trusting that they will learn what they need to learn.
Yeah.
And just having the opportunities. If you're giving them the opportunity to learn, you know, with setting up the little invitations to play and things like that, I think that, you know, I
would trust that, you know, whenever before Bonnie was, you know, obviously up her first 7 years, I'd always trust the fact that in Scandinavia they don't go to school, they don't even start school till they're 7. So I could always be like, well, you know, if she's not done anything till then, or not, you know, not much, but now she's near, you know, she's going to be turning 8 in November, and I'm now, so, you know, but she's fine, you know, and she's taught herself to read. So, but that was because Benson, my partner, would sit and read with her every night. So she would just read, you know, kind of watch him read, and they would be involved in the story. And I guess because children like repetitive stories, so she would gradually learn to pick up words. And I'm not really party to it, and that's, you know, that's my bad, because he does the bedtime routine, so he gets that wonderful opportunity with her, and I'm sitting downstairs, you know, relaxing. And yeah, so he's taught her to read, or she's taught herself to read. Together they've learnt, together Bonnie and Benson have taught Bonnie to read. So that's a lovely experience. And, you know, now she can read anything now. But like you say, that was in you know, kind of pushed on a little bit, because she started to go on to, she has like a couple of hours a week on a computer game, and she started to get frustrated because people were saying things and she couldn't read what they were saying, or she could read it but not read it fully. Yeah. So she was then, you know, that's sort of spurred her on a little bit. So it's a need for reading, as you know, that's exactly what you're saying. They don't need to read when they're babies or when they're 5 or 6, do they, or 3 or 4? Yeah, because mummy and daddy do everything for them, so, or siblings.
Yeah.
So can we go back to the Willows? It's not all going to be about the Willows, but can you remember how long it was from idea conception to opening day? Because I know it wasn't very long.
It wasn't very long. Mm-hmm. So how long was it? I think it was 4 or 5 months.
I was going to say, I'm sure I remember talking to you in the February, and then it was in the September, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we opened on September the 6th last year. Yeah, so we met at the pub, didn't we? And I said, I've got this idea and I can't do it on my own, and I think you'll just be the perfect person to just help me out, please. You did, and I don't actually think I would have done it eventually, but just to have you there supporting me, and you were
Aw.
there, like every step of the way. We went on courses together, didn't we? And
Yeah.
just, yeah, it was yeah, you're amazing. So it was around 6 months, was it?
Yeah, I reckon about that. Yeah, I know it just did. It seemed like we had the discussion. We went on a couple of like intense workshop type things, or just got our heads together a couple of times, didn't we? And you were like thrashing ideas out, and with your notebook and your folder and everything, and and it was just like, it was lovely to see it, because I was just like, yes, because I've obviously got the Earth School idea, that's on my land, it was on land that I don't think I'd even bought at the time. So I had
then.
no. So I had the idea of an Earth School, which is a completely different concept, but along the same sort of lines. But obviously, when you started talking about this provision, I was just like, it just sounded amazing. It really sounded like something that I wanted to be part of, or at least I wanted my children to be part of. Unfortunately, in the meantime, I've moved away, so I can't have. Well, I could, but I'm shit at getting up in the mornings.
You're going to come to. We've got a few special events happening soon, so
yeah. I'm still part of it. I still feel like my heart's in it. It's still very important to me, and I still I feel like and obviously I still want to support you on it, and and keep being there for you through it, because it's an amazing project. It's wonderful. But yeah, it was. I knew when you had the idea, it wasn't going to just be a case of, I've had this idea, and then next week you've got another idea. It was a definite, like, rock hard idea in your head. So let's talk about the path to get there then, the hoops that you had to jump through. Obviously, you can't just rock up in a field and start inviting home educated children there, can you?
Well, I don't know. I think that's kind of what we did. So when we got,
I seem to remember lots of form filling.
a lot of paperwork and a lot of courses. So like I said before, I didn't know anybody who was doing the same kind of thing as what we do. I did find a couple of similar provisions. So I made contact with them, and I just said, this is what I want to do. Can you just help me out? Where do I start? And that was, it's called The Garden in Bristol. I think it's in Bristol.
Did you find them helpful?
Yes. So they pointed me in the direction of the cabin, where we went to the workshop, the startup workshop. So the cabin is a home education facility. It's self-directed learning. It's a democratic setting. And so we went to a workshop there, and I honestly don't think I would have been able to open so quickly if it wasn't for that workshop. We got a lot of information from them, and I still refer back to it as well, just about policies and Ofsted, the law around it. So
there was lots of questions, though, didn't we? We really wanted to stay longer and be like, what about this, what about that? And it was, we were enthused, and a lot of the questions had been answered, but I think we could have done with a 2-day thing rather than just a day, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I have actually emailed them a few times when I'm like, oh, what about this or what about that? So I kind of emailed them, and they're like, they'll help me out. But so there was that workshop, and there was also obviously first aid courses, safeguarding, data protection courses, and things like that. All of the paperwork side of things, policies was a big one. If it wasn't for that workshop, I think I would still be writing the policies from scratch now. The information they gave was just invaluable.
That's good.
And so apart from that, the next job was alongside kind of research and everything, we were getting things ready down at the setting. So everything was overgrown. It was like a jungle. So there was a lot of cutting grass, cutting the weeds back. After we did that, we put up a few swings. and my husband built the mud kitchen. And what else did we do? There was some other
Toilets.
Built the toilets, yes. My dad's girlfriend and a friend of hers.
Amazing.
She is.
I still want to get her down to my land to build me some, because they're like side by side. There's like 2 toilets, isn't there? And they're up on stilts, and they're long drop toilets. And she's a freak of nature, isn't she? She can build anything.
She can do anything, that woman. Yeah. They're building something at the moment, actually, like a log cabin or something. But so they built the compost toilets in about a week.
Yeah, it was 1 minute it wasn't there, next minute it was.
Crazy. So that was one of the main things we had to get down there, obviously, was toilets and water. So we collect rainwater, and we use that for hand washing and things. What else did we do? So the next big...
Before and after photos?
I have, but somewhere in my phone. I'll get them, I'll send them to you. Maybe you can...
Yeah, I can post them up, because I'll also be posting up like details about the cabin and the garden as well. So just to put anyone sort of referred to, we can refer to photos.
So after the forest, our next task was to get the tent up, and that was a big job.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
We've got a 5-metre one, and that's like Benson can do it on his own, but he does need a little bit of help. So I can imagine with an 8-metre one, it's more like a circus tent, isn't it?
It's massive. It's massive.
Big top.
Even before the tent goes up, there was still the foundation. So we had to, there was some, I don't know what it's called, like some meshing stuff that you have to put down, and then some pallets. So we had to bolt all the pallets together, make sure they was all the right size, and then put some more meshing down, and then the tent went on top. And it took 3 strong men to put the pole up in the tent. So we managed to get that up, and it's been up for about a year now. We haven't taken it down at all, and it stayed up. It's done really, really well. I'm very pleased with the tent.
It's a lovely space as well, isn't it, inside?
Yeah.
Like obviously the Willows runs through all weathers, so it's nice to have somewhere warm to go into if it is. Obviously it's nice to be outside in all weathers as well, but if the children aren't used to it, or if it's, if you've had enough yourself, it's nice to have somewhere to retreat to, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So we do, and then they come and they read, or they build dens inside the tent actually as well.
Yeah.
We've got like them foam, it was flooring actually, that the foam squares that kind of they don't clip together, but it's like a big puzzle. And so they use them to build dens inside, and there's lots of art that goes on in the tent as well. But that can also be taken outside. So I do a lot of art outside. But yeah, like you say, in the winter time, we have a fire on in there, and it's really cozy, and it's just brilliant just to chill out. So yeah.
Do. So you've been doing it for coming up for a year then?
Yes.
So how do you keep it fresh and creative? And because a lot of the children they just keep coming, don't they? So it's not like you have new children all the time. The children have been there. Some of them have been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
So how do you keep it fresh on a daily basis to keep the children's interest?
So we will bring in new bits and pieces for the children to just discover, whether it is hay bales or more tarpaulin and string. We try and keep it fresh. Also we'll just pop up like a new swing or hammocks.
You get in a car or something, like an old truck or some old vehicle, aren't you getting, or have had, or it's in the underground somewhere, isn't it?
That was another thing. Well, that had been there for a while, and on one of our expeditions, because we like to just go exploring sometimes. It's a big area, so we just we go off exploring, and there was a car which had been just left there, and so they played with the car for a while. What else? They just
garden?
We don't need to keep it fresh really, because they keep it fresh themselves. Their kids are amazing. Like if you just let them be, they just play and occupy themselves. But we do bring in new resources. So we've got one of them big parachutes coming soon. I am so excited for that.
Oh yeah, because you play lots of games out on the field, don't you, with
Yeah.
with the group games together. I like that side of it.
Yeah. So we play lots and lots of games, and we have like badminton and archery, football games. We have rounders and cricket.
What's the time, Mr. Wolf?
Oh, Granny's footsteps.
Yeah.
Granny's footsteps.
So what does a good day look like, and what does a bad day look like at the Willows?
A good day is when all of the children are totally immersed in a project and they're working together and looking out for each other. There's been times where it's been so boggy, the children have lost their wellies in the mud. They'll all work as a team and dig each other out of the mud, and it's just fun. It's just so much fun. And a bad day, I don't actually remember there being a bad day. I mean, the weather, if it's really, really raining, that can obviously dampen our spirits a bit, but there's no such thing as bad weather, just inappropriate clothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
what about discipline? If you've got, say you get children falling out with each other, obviously children in a group don't always get on. How do you deal with the sort of group dynamics?
We try our best to not get involved straight away. If there is a disagreement, obviously if it becomes physical, then we are there straight away, but luckily that has only ever happened once, I think. And so we kind of take a step back and let them try and figure it out themselves. If they're not figuring it out, then we'll just kind of mediate a little bit and figure out how we can,
find life skills, isn't it?
Solution. Yeah. I mean, if you jump in too soon, then they're not going to learn, are they? They're not going to learn how to negotiate. That's the word I was looking for. Exactly. And when it's mixed ages. So with our eldest is 11, nearly 12, a nearly 12-year-old, and our youngest is 5. And so they're very good. The older ones are very good at looking out for the younger ones, and they're their role models, and they learn off of each other and they get on really very well. We've built up the community. It is like a little family, and so they don't really have big arguments. There might be a disagreement, but they soon figure it out.
Yeah, and as I recall, at the end of each day, you do circle time, don't you, where you get to sort of discuss what happened, and if there has been any sort of, not fallouts, but any sort of issues within the day, they're sort of wrangled out in discussion in the circle, aren't they? Which always leaves the day on a good note, I guess. And then you can always start the next day on a fresh day without sort of things overhanging.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have circle time in the morning, and we also have circle time just before home time. And so everyone will get a chance to speak and say how we're feeling, how we felt the day went. So we do a rose, a thorn, and a bud. So our rose is our best part of the day. Thorn is something that wasn't so great, and a bud is something that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's so lovely.
It's lovely to hear what they come up with, isn't it?
Yeah, and you kind of think, oh, I know what you're going to say, what your favourite part is, but then it can be something totally different. It could be like, oh, I remember one of the girls was saying, I loved it when I found this frog, and I was teaching one of the younger children that it's not a frog, it's a toad, and this is how you learn the difference between a frog and a toad. And that was her favourite part of the day, was teaching someone else. And it's just I just love it. I love the whole dynamics, and I really believe that having mixed ages is a real blessing.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we like to have a little bit of a meditation as well at the end of the day. Well, we try to, if we have enough time. So just to kind of, you know, unwind and just reflect on our day as well. So, yeah.
So if somebody was to be wanting to start up a situation like yours, a facility like yours, or, you know, on a smaller or larger scale, or, you know, just some sort of a, not necessarily home ed, but some sort of a provision, what things have helped you, apart, you know, obviously the ones you've already discussed, but is there anything else that's helped you along your way? And also, what advice would you give them?
Advice would be just to research.
Yeah.
Have a clear idea of your vision, and, you know, set yourself small goals, and just go for it, because if you don't just go for it, then, you know, you're never gonna do it. So just start. If you've got the idea, just make a start, and you have to be passionate for it as well. You have to really want it. I mean, it's not easy, you know, it's hard work, but it's so worth it. So anyone that would like to start a provision similar to ours, definitely research it. Go to workshops like we did. That was the workshop. I know I've mentioned it before, but the workshop we went on was really, really very good. Get in contact with other places like ours, and yeah, just research and have a vision and go for it.
Brilliant. And so what happens next for the Willows? What are your future plans?
So future plans are just to continue to grow. So we're going to be opening for an extra day. So we'll be open Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, because the demand is there. We are going to be we haven't had any sleepovers yet, but the children are desperate to come to camp. So we're going to be having campovers. We're going to be campovers, camp out. Yeah, so just continuing to grow, really.
And long term? What about long term? What about when your children are too old for, you know, to say, when your baby's 18, 16, 17?
Well,
do you hope to be doing it for children?
I'm sorry?
Do you hope to still be doing it for, like, future children?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I honestly believe that places like this is what children need. There's so many children who are diagnosed with anxiety and depression and have these mental health issues, and, you know, studies have proven, and we all know, being out in nature is one of the best things we can do for our mental health. And having physical activity, so sports, climbing trees and things, and just being yourself, and having time, like you say, having time to be bored and let that creativity then flow. I honestly think that it's just so important. I think schools are outdated. There's a lot of box ticking, too many exams. I mean, they're bringing in exams for 4-year-olds now.
Oh my goodness.
And it's so much pressure on children. So
yeah, there is so much pressure, and I think they get enough pressure when they're adults, don't they? So, you know, I can't really see.
Future, I want to be running for a long time.
What are you saying? I want to be running for president.
Definitely not that.
So how do you, as a person, as a mother and a wife and a person, how do you chill out? How do you kind of shut down and get away from the business? Because obviously you're running your own business. How do you get away from that?
Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is my absolute sanity. So I go in normal times when it's not lockdown. I go to yoga for a couple of hours a week, and then I try and practice yoga at home as well. And I also go for lots of walks in the forest. I'm really lucky that I live near a forest, so go for walks in the forest. Meditation as well is a big one for me, and reading. I like to read books.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. I mean, there's only so much time, isn't there, in a day, and
Yeah.
a lot of times I don't get to go on a walk, or I don't get to read that part of the book that I wanted. I can't finish this chapter, or it's difficult. It's difficult to have time for yourself, but I do think that it's vital.
I see you as someone who really does prioritize themselves. I know you don't probably get a lot of time, but I do think you kind of you rather than speaking about it and saying you need to make time for yourself, you actually do. You do take yourself off into the forest and go for a walk, and that the healing power of nature, and it's not just, oh, I'm going for a walk in the forest. It's actually, I need to get into the forest. I need to get there to it's very underestimated, the healing power of nature. And just like, well, I think there is actually a thing, isn't it? It's called forest bathing. So to go into the forest and kind of absorb it and just be there and enjoy the moment, sort of thing. But you actually do it. You don't just pay it lip service. That is, honestly, I can bear witness to that. You do look after yourself as much as you can.
I'm very lucky to have a husband who will, if he sees that I need it, he'll kind of see that I need a break before I do, and he will just push me to the door and say, you need to go for a walk, because sometimes
fuck off to the forest.
he does. He did it the other day. It was raining, and he was just like, you just need to go. So I still went, and I felt so much better after. So I mean, I haven't always been great at prioritizing myself, but that's how you get burnt out. And if mum isn't well, no one else is having a good time, And
you can't, going back to the business, you can't provide a safe, happy, nurturing environment if you're burnt out, can you? So, that's something you probably have to schedule, don't you? Your self-care.
Yeah, it's very scheduled. I try and stick to it. I don't stick to it really rigidly, but there are parts of the day, so I will try and get up before the children to have some time to journaling as well. I like to journal, so I do a bit of journaling, a little bit of yoga, and then I try and work on the business side of things a little bit before the children wake up. And also in normal times they go to forest school on a Friday, so I get 6 hours.
Oh, wonderful.
Whole hour. Right. I will go. Oh, that's another thing I do actually. In normal times, I will go for a weekly massage every week.
Yes, I remember. God, doesn't it seem a long time ago?
I miss that so much. I'm not one of those women that will go and get their nails done and things. We were talking today, wasn't we? I get my hair done once a year, if that. Yeah. But a massage is that's kind of like my vice. I don't drink coffee or anything. I just need to. I carry a lot of tension up here, so. Yeah.
You do so well, though. I should take a leaf out of your book, because I don't do anything for myself.
It is really vital.
Yeah, I need to. And I mean, if obviously now this is for me. This is my couple of hours of an evening to do what I want to do. But it's still it's nice to do, but it's still work, I guess. I need to probably do something a bit more for myself, really. Although I don't know, I spend so much time down the land. That's kind of like my time.
Yeah. And
you're not supposed to say you're supposed to say no, Tab. That's when you've got children still.
You do spend time at the land, but Benson's also good. If you asked him, he would. Like tonight, you said to him, please take the children. He's absolutely
Don't need to ask, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to ask. Just kind of say, I need some time, and do
Yeah.
it. So you love yoga as well.
Yeah, I do yoga at home. I do, but I'd like to go out to do it.
Yes, it's different when you're doing it at home and you can hear the children, screaming,
Yeah.
and it's not the same as going
No.
to a class. So you really should.
Yeah, I've moved to a new area, so I need to kind of find a new place to go, really. But then I'm hoping to start yoga on my land, to have yoga there. So I'll hopefully soon be able to get it for free because I'll be providing the venue. So, so I've got a couple more questions. These are the two questions that I ask everybody. So they're just generic questions.
Okay.
What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Oh.
Slip that in there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one. What would I say to my 16-year-old self? Well, when I was 16, I was already with Matt. I got with Matt when I was 15, and I'm now 31. I would probably say, just don't worry as much as, like, I'm a worrier. I worry about everything. So I would say, don't worry, and just go for it. Just go for it. Like, what have you got to lose? Just go for it. Whatever your dreams are, go for it. Because why not? Well, like, you can do it. I've proved to myself that I can do it. I never thought that I would actually be able to achieve what I've achieved. Obviously, I've had so much help. I've had you and my husband and my dad and my dad's girlfriend, and people. I've had a good, really strong team around me. So I would just shoot for the stars.
And finally, where is your Mecca? Where is your nirvana? What is the one place that you find peace? Or that it could be a place in your home, or it could be a place in the world, but it is just that place where you feel completely at ease and where you love to go.
Okay, so the place where I love to go the most, I've been to some lovely places in the world, but the one place where I love to go, and we go every other year, is Anglesey, in Wales. It's a cottage in the middle of nowhere on the sea. So you have your own private beach. You don't get any phone signal. There's no one around, and it is, absolutely beautiful. Like, I can't even describe how much I love it there.
I've seen the photos, and it really is beautiful.
Honestly, I love it so much. And you go up the cliff. And I remember one morning I went up there, and the sun was rising and the waves were crashing, and I was doing my yoga, and I just cried because I was just like, thank you, like, this is life. That is where I find my inner peace.
Wow.
Yeah. Cable Cottage in Anglesey, that's the place to go.
Yeah, say it again, because I think I spoke over you.
It's Cable Cottage.
Yeah, I hope to get there myself one day, because how you've described it in the photos just look amazing.
Yeah, and it's a really big. We go with, so my husband and some of his family. His mum introduced us to it.
It's going to be fully booked now.
When was it? Jacob was just a newborn, so 7 years ago, and we've gone every other year since. And yeah, if I could choose to go anywhere in the world, that's where I would go. Yeah,
that's what it is. It's like a Mecca is somewhere where you make a pilgrimage to. So that is definitely your Mecca.
Yeah,
the one place that you kind of think is.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. That's the end now. That's the end of the podcast. So thank you very much. I hope you found it interesting to talk about this. It sort of helps to kind of give yourself a bit of a review, doesn't it, after a year?
You kind of forget, it's been a year, and you forget like what you went through to kind of start up, and it's a lot of hard work, but I love it so much.
That's evident.
And I think I honestly believe that I'm making a difference. We're making a difference. What we are doing at Willows, we're making a difference to children's lives, and this is what they need.
Yeah.
This is actually not just what children need. Adults also need to be out in nature more and play more. Like, we don't play as adults. We don't play enough. So it's good.
I'm sure I've heard people down there when you've had open days, people say like, I want to come here. Like adults.
Yeah, they do. And they do. So maybe that's another thing we could look into, is just opening up for adults. Adults.
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, back to nature all the way for me. I just think that's, the way we need to all be living in a commune in the middle of nowhere with no internet, no electricity, no running water, back to basics. And I think that's, that's where we're all at our happiest. I truly believe that.
I do as well. Just slow down, everyone is so busy all the time.
Yeah.
So let's just slow down.
Yeah.
There's lots for everyone to just slow down, and this is a great opportunity for people to just stop for a bit.
Yes, definitely. Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Kelly. I appreciate your input and your honesty and your openness to discuss all these different questions.
Thank you for having me.
That's okay. I'm sure we'll talk again on the podcast in future.
Yes.
As things develop. So thank you for watching or listening, everybody. And our next guest is going to be an artist from Cambridge called Hilary Cox-Condon. And I'm going to be doing that tomorrow, but this one will be out as soon as possible, and then a week later. So I'm trying to do them every week now. So enjoy. But thank you very much. And you're going to have to press stop because it's recording from your end. Thank you. Bye.